My name is Morgan Wills, and I have the privilege of sharing information with you about Lev Vygotsky. As an undergraduate, I studied human development and psychology. Lev Vygotsky had a lot of implications on my undergraduate coursework, and I learned a lot of information about him. Lev Vygotsky was born in 1896 and died in 1934. He excelled academically as a student, earning a gold medal for being the highest achieving student in all subjects. He also organized debates among his colleagues. He presented at a national conference, which led to his employment at the Moscow Institute of Experimental Psychology. Vygotsky developed the sociocultural theory of cognitive development. Through his works, he described higher thinking. His literature described the process of higher thinking, the influence that cultural symbols have on cognitive development, the order and periods of development that an individual goes through, and the role of culture on cognitive development. He described higher mental processes of occurring in 4 different stages. The first 2 stages are pre-mastery stages. The third stage occurs when an individual is able to think through different symbols. The fourth stage occurs when an individual is able to take an external symbol and use it internally to create knowledge through connections. Vygotsky's sociocultural theory of cognitive development describes human development as a social aspect rather than an individualistic occurrence. The theory describes development as occurring through engagement in social activities, as in engagement with other individuals, objects, and the environment. The mind is affected by the environment and an individual's background. If you think about it, everyone has experienced different experiences, and we construct knowledge in different ways. We also all have different knowledge. We don't have the exact same knowledge, and this is what Vygotsky described in his theory. Social engagement also is how an individual learns. A language development occurs through social engagement. Another example of that is if you have a child that hasn't been talked to or isn't around any adults that talk very often, their language development is going to be a lot slower and a lot more behind than a child that comes from a family that talks often and engages with the child a lot. Vygotsky's theory of cognitive development has many educational implications. If you look in a classroom today, you can see teachers using practices that are based on Vygotsky's sociocultural theory of cognitive development. This theory has been used within the classroom for years and will continue to be used for years. The first thing that teachers use within the classroom that is based on Vygotsky's sociocultural theory of cognitive development is communication. Communication can be used by encouraging student-to-student communication or teacher-to-student communication. Teachers use activities throughout the day to encourage communication between students. This can include whole group conversations and activities, small group conversations and activities, partner work, and group projects. The zone of proximal development is another implication that is used within the classroom today that is based on Vygotsky's theory of cognitive development. The zone of proximal development is the gap between what a student can do unaided and what a student is able to do with assistance from an expert. The expert in the classroom would be the classroom teacher. These activities that include the zone of proximal development are goal-oriented activities. There's something that's meaningful to the student and they're striving to reach an academic goal. The zone of proximal development helps students develop an internal dialogue. When a teacher is helping and assisting students with an activity, the student is listening to the teacher's words and is able to think that in their head. When they do the activity independently without the teacher's assistance, they're able to use internal dialogue to complete the activity independently. In order for the zone of proximal development to be effective in the classroom and the use of it to be successful, the teacher must identify the readiness and the academic level of each student in the classroom. If an activity is too hard, then it'll be out of a student's zone of proximal development and the student will get discouraged. If the activity is too easy, it will be on the other end of the student's the zone of proximal development, and the activity will be too easy and the student won't be engaged because they will be bored. As discussed before, teachers and students are both active participants in the learning process. They collaborate to assist students in constructing new knowledge. Scaffolding is a tool that was derived off of Vygotsky's theory that is used in the classroom daily. You can go into any classroom throughout the United States and see scaffolding being implemented. Scaffolding is a tool that helps students construct knowledge. The teacher or an expert, as Vygotsky would say, provides assistance when a student is completing a new skill. This is a temporary practice, but is essential to help students develop the skill. An example of this is the I do, you watch. So in the classroom, first, the teacher, when showing a new skill, does the skill and the students watch. Next, the teacher participates in I do, you help. The students help the teacher do the activity. Next, the students participate in the activity and the teacher helps. And lastly, the students participate in the activity independently while the teacher watches. The teacher provides criticism and feedback as the students learn the new process. Just like any other theory, Vygotsky's sociocultural theory of cognitive development has critics. The critics say that Vygotsky does not focus on the motivational influences when discussing the zone of proximal development. Critics also discuss how Vygotsky does not focus on the individual at all when discussing learning. Vygotsky focuses only on the social context of learning and does not discuss what happens in the individual's mind as learning occurs. As I review Vygotsky's sociocultural theory of cognitive development, I developed a criticism of my own. I feel that Vygotsky did not focus enough on the educational experience that a student receives in the classroom. Vygotsky put a lot of focus and emphasis on the social context that a student engages in and experiences outside of the classroom, such as discussing with peers and parents. And I feel that even if the student isn't given this opportunity, the instruction that they receive in the classroom can allow them to construct knowledge and be successful in the future.